Everyone to come in, have a seat. Nobody wanted to sit up close to us up here in the front row, so I promise we're nice people. All right, so good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name, for those of you who don't know, is Rena Shack, and I have the extreme honor and privilege to serve as the director of the Mayor's Office of Violence Prevention here with the City of Columbus. Tonight, not only are we extremely thankful that you all are here in attendance, because this is truly our way of giving back to all of you, for us all to share in uplifting those lives who have been lost to gun violence, extending a healing hand to any of you or any of us who are mourning. Because in our office, the number one priority of the work that we do is to reduce gun violence in our community. And I know tonight with the Arts Festival and with all the other things going on, the weather, there's plenty of other places that you all could have chosen to be. And to be here tonight to mark this occasion for National Gun Violence Awareness Day is so special to us. We feel honored to be able to put this on for our community. I will let you know that it is being live streamed, and so members of our community who couldn't be here today can still share in this moment with us. What I want to stress is what's shown here in this room and just generally in Columbus is that we're not on this journey alone to battle the gun violence epidemic. Unfortunately, this is a problem that extends far beyond the borders of Columbus. Gun violence is a daily reality in communities across the country. Every day, 120 Americans lose their lives to gun violence. I want you to take a moment to think about that. 120 individuals are lost to gun violence every day in this country. That's one person every 12 minutes. Think about it this way. Most of us go to the gas station, fill up our cars with gas. In the time that it takes for you to get to the gas station, fill your car up, and leave, somebody's life has been lost to gun violence. It's a tragedy, and it needs to end. This is why we have to keep advocating for common sense gun reform. We have to interrupt violence in our communities, and we have to provide resources to prevent fatal and non-fatal shootings in any way that we can. It is our responsibility. Behind each number is a name, is a family, is a story whose time was cut too short and whose story was lost too soon. So I invite each of you tonight to make a promise to yourselves, to the people next to you, to your communities, to do more. I know that everybody in this room does everything that they can because we care about ending this epidemic. But there is always more we can do because, frankly, lives depend on it. And it's our shared responsibility to make sure that this ends. Do more, strive to do better, and be the voice of reason in rooms where there isn't one. Because as a community, we are safer when we work together. And that looks different for each of us. Everybody in this room, everybody who's watching has a different talent, has a different passion. There's a way that you can get involved and help end gun violence because it affects everybody. Let's not wait for the next tragedy to take action. Let's together be the reason that fewer families have to experience this pain. Together we can build a safer, a kinder, and a more hopeful future, one where every life is valued, and one where every story can be told, and every voice is heard. At this time, I'd like to invite up a group of women. Moms Demand Action. I'd like to invite you all up front, please. This group works tirelessly on the local, state, and national levels to end gun violence. Thank you. And so today, come on up here, ladies. On National Gun Violence Awareness Day, on behalf of Mayor Ginther, we'd like to present you and your organization with a proclamation labeling today National Gun Violence Awareness Day here in the city of Columbus, and to thank you for your tireless work because we know you ladies, I've known most of you for years now, and you guys are everywhere. You give up time from your families, from your jobs, from your houses to try to save lives, and we couldn't do this work without you, and you guys are so appreciated. So at this time, I'd like to provide you with a proclamation, and please give them a round of applause. You guys are wonderful. Hold it up. Go ahead. I'm waiting for the signal in the back. Okay. Thank you, ladies. Okay, so tonight we're going to hear from a fantastic panel of city and county officials, starting with Columbus Police Department Deputy Chief Justin Coleman, and then on to Franklin County's prosecutor Shayla Favor, and then on to City Attorney Zach Klein, and finally ending with Franklin County Coroner Dr. Nathan Overmeyer. So at this time, I'd like to invite DC Coleman to come up and share a few words.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you. I'm Deputy Chief Justin Coleman from the Columbus Division of Police, and I'm honored and humbled to be able to stand in front of you tonight on behalf of Chief Elaine Bryant and the Columbus Division of Police. So I want to begin by thanking all the community members that are here. The commitment in making a difference in our great city is unbelievable, and it's because of you that our efforts are able to be done. To the mothers of murdered Columbus children, Moms Demand Action, Office of Violence Prevention, our elected officials, to members of the Division of Police, and so many others that are advocates and organizations that are represented here today, thank you for your relentless efforts to address and reduce the violence that we're seeing in our city. As Director Schack mentioned, some national numbers that are related to violence, related specifically to firearms. We're seeing the same issues and things that are here in the city of Columbus. But we know progress doesn't happen overnight, and the result of progress is going to be the collective efforts of every single partner that is represented here today that has played a role in that progress. So while it's encouraging to be able to stand up here and report numbers, some we've seen some reduction in some of the numbers over the years. We can't overlook the ongoing harm that's caused by gun violence, particularly among our youth, which remains deeply concerning. Let me share a few local statistics from the city of Columbus with you. Of the 32 homicides that we have had in the city of Columbus, 87% were committed with a firearm. 203 of the 321 felonious assaults were related to firearms within the city in 2025. In 2024, over 3,200 firearms were recovered, with over 2,000 related to some type of investigation that was criminal in nature. And just this year, in 2025, we have recovered over 1,200 firearms to date, many of which have been used in some type of crime. These recoveries result from a combination of proactive policing, investigations, but the most important thing are tips from the community and information from community members. As we enter into the summer months, we know historically we see upticks in violence and activity. May showed us that we still have a lot of the summer left and things to do. So what are we doing as a division? So we've rolled out a couple initiatives, and we have some targeted deployment initiatives that are going on. You're going to see our officers out as part of Operation Moonlight. 2 officers are actually here tonight representing Operation Moonlight. These are our individuals that are going out to our festivals, our community events, and engaging to ensure that it's going to be safe and fun for everybody. We just started and kicked off our Operation Safe Streets initiative, which is additional officers that are out on patrol for increased visibility, partnering with our community for specific strategies addressing crime and quality of life issues. One thing that you won't see but you'll hear about is our non-fatal shoot teams, which are getting ready to expand. It was a pilot program that the chief started in the Linden area, running for about the last year. It was a group of detectives that were specifically dedicated to ensure that they had direct and depth of follow-up for non-fatal shootings. We'll be extending the non-fatal shoot teams throughout the city. It'll be rolling out throughout the summer and the remainder of the fall and into next year so that each area has a representation. The goal of the non-fatal shooting teams are to send detectives out to our additional areas and zones to ensure that we get shooters off the streets before they pull another trigger or they fall victim to an incident themselves. Enforcement alone cannot solve this problem. We understand that. And thanks to the Mothers of Murdered Children of Columbus, the Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children, we recently embedded a member from their organization with us to expand outreach and communication. So the recent decrease in gun violence that we hope to see and that we've seen over the years is not a direct result of police activity. It's a reflection of the collaborative citywide work that every community organization, our violence interrupters, our faith leaders, our elected officials, and every citizen are helping to engage in. We remain fully committed to working in partnerships with everyone in this room, and we thank you for the opportunity to be part of the Vigil tonight. We stand with you collectively in this day of action, in the call to action. And together, we will continue to make Columbus the safest place to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. I stand before you tonight, not only as the Franklin County prosecuting attorney, but as a lifelong servant and member of this community. My heart is heavy, but my resolve is unshakable. First, I want to speak directly to the families and loved ones here tonight who have lost someone to gun violence. I am deeply sorry for your loss. Your pain is profound. Your loss is immeasurable. And I won't pretend that words can ever fill that void. But please know this. I carry your grief with me every day in this work. And I will not stop fighting relentlessly and unapologetically to ensure that no more lives are stolen and no more families are shattered by the devastating reality of gun violence. Regardless of what the current administration says, gun violence is an epidemic in the United States and remains the leading public health crisis in our communities. Gun violence continues to devastate our neighborhoods, our families, and most tragically, our children. In Ohio, as we've already heard, the rate of gun deaths increased by 42% from 2013 to 2022, surpassing the national increase of 36%. Alarmingly, gun homicides in our state rose by 66% during that period in our state. During my time on Columbus City Council, I led the charge to pass a common sense gun safety legislative package, not just because it was good policy, but out of principle. When a child finds a gun and tragedy follows, that's not an accident. That's policy failure. And it's one that we have the power and the responsibility to correct. As your prosecutor, I am committed to doing everything within my power to keep people safe and to find creative solutions to change this current trend. Day after day, case after case, we continue to grapple with the devastating impacts of gun violence and our state's lenient gun laws. Each file represents more than just paperwork. It's a mother's grief, a community's fear, and futures cut short. And when it comes to our youth, let me just say this plainly. Our kids are crying out, some with their words, some with their actions, and some with silence that is so loud it echoes in their behavior. We have too many children in Franklin County caught in the cycles of violence, trauma, and abandonment. This cannot just be a government problem. It's a shared community responsibility. We need to wrap our arms around these young people before the streets do. We need to remind them of their worth, their potential, and most importantly, they are not alone. Our office is actively convening stakeholders to work together on creative solutions. And before I go further, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the members of my staff that are here tonight that are working directly to address gun violence in our community. Can you all please stand? Because they do this work tirelessly on behalf of this community every single day. I strongly encourage each of you, if you haven't already, to step up and be a part of righting this ship. I want to take this moment to thank Chief Bryant, Chief Potts, and the rest of the Columbus Department of Police for their ongoing partnership and service to our community, as well as the other various law enforcement agencies all across our county. I would also like to recognize Miss Melissa Thomas St. Clair and the other members and mothers who have turned their pain into purpose, and they commit their time and lives to creating safer communities. Will you all join me in giving them a round of applause? I wholeheartedly believe that it is time to bring back the village, to rebuild the bonds that once made us a strong community. That means accountability. Yes, it absolutely means accountability, but it also means compassion, prevention, and being present. So tonight, as we remember those that we have lost, let us all recommit ourselves to saving those that are still within our reach. Let us raise our voices, not just in grief, but also in action. Because together, I truly believe we can create a safer Columbus and safer Franklin County together. Thank you all for your love and support of this community this evening. Have a wonderful day.
Prosecutor favors the best. She's very good. Well, good evening, everyone. It's really great to be with each of you. It's such an inspirational group. The amount of time and dedication that each of you take on your own volition because of the love and drive you have for this community, for the future of our community, is really, really admirable. And it motivates me sometimes in the work that we do, as frustrating as it can be. I know this work can be very challenging, and oftentimes, and I don't know if you feel this way, but it reminds me of the story of the little boy on the beach with the starfish. So if you don't know the story, there's a little boy on the beach, and there's a bunch of starfish that have washed up to shore. And the little boy's picking up a starfish and tossing it back in and picking it up. There's thousands of starfish. And a man walks up and says, well, what are you doing? There's 1,000 of starfish. You're never going to be able to pick up and make a difference to these starfish. And he picks up the starfish and he throws it in and says, well, I made a difference to that one. And that's the type of work that we're seeing in the community, that we may not recognize or be able to feel like we're making a dent on every life, but we are making an impact on individuals across the city of Columbus. And it's people in this room. I'm looking at you right now. That are doing the work every single day to make a difference. And I'm proud to be your partner and to stand next to you as we tackle gun violence in our community and acknowledge the amount of work that has been done and the amount of work that we still need to do. When we talk about gun violence in the city attorney's office, I often think of the 4 Ps of like how do we tackle gun violence? Well, the first is people. You got to invest in people. You got to invest in our children. You got to invest in the education system. You got to give people opportunity and hope so they feel like they have a chance to survive and to do well and to have an opportunity to get ahead. And if we don't invest in people, then that can turn into violence. And then the second is the politics. And Lord knows we're beating our head against the wall in some of the political decisions that are made when it comes to gun violence. And having at our fingertips in the community some common sense laws that we wish the state house or the federal government could pass in order to get guns out of the hands of people that shouldn't have them and to get guns off our street to make them safer. And we fight in the city attorney's office and sue the state of Ohio and engage in a lot of litigation with people right here to make sure we do that and making sure that the laws that our city council passed that prosecutor favor, then council member favor, reference like a safe storage law. If there's kids around, let's use some common sense and lock up your guns. Weapons under disability law when it comes to domestic violence convicts. People who have domestic violence convictions on their records are still allowed to possess a gun in the state of Ohio. They've proven themselves to be violent, and the state of Ohio said, that's okay, you can still own a gun. Well, not in the city of Columbus. And we continue to defend that from attacks from the NRA and other law enforcement or other gun advocacy groups. And then it comes time when people have made a bad decision, when you have to have accountability, and that's when we need police prosecutors, and judges to step up. Make sure we get violent people off the street to clean up our communities. With the unfortunate number of gun violence that takes place, whether that's suicide, whether that's an accidental shooting, whether that's an all too young man or boy or girl that pulls a trigger and ends someone's life, the one I want to end with tonight on this 2025 occasion that we're seeing too many instances of is domestic violence. And what we're seeing, we've seen members of our law enforcement community, the most dangerous runs law enforcement go on are domestic violence runs. And we've seen tragedy strike right here in Central Ohio with our brave men and women of law enforcement that have been injured or lost their lives because of domestic violence. But there's also the victims and families of domestic violence. And behind the homicide numbers in Franklin County, a lot of those are family-related or intimate partner domestic violence. And when you dig even deeper, and this is where it's a community action, a community call to action, is that a lot of the offenders had very little to no interaction with the justice system. So that means they're living in their cycle of violence, and the only people know are their friends and family. So a call to action tonight is if you know of a DV situation, be brave, be courageous, save a life, because there are people that want to help. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for being part of the mission. Thank you for being inspirational. And we all are in this together. I believe in you, and God love you. Amen.
Good evening, everybody. I love that baby in the back. She's so beautiful. I love her. I love you, Mama. How y'all doing back there? Keep her safe. But good evening, everybody. I want to thank D.C. Coleman, Attorney Klein, Prosecutor Favor, Director Shack. Thank you so much for you and the Mayor, Mayor Ginther, and the entire team at the Office of Violence Prevention for bringing us together tonight. Your leadership makes a difference, and I'm honored to be part of this important moment with all of you. I wish we didn't have to gather tonight, but I'm grateful that we are, and I'm grateful that we stand together in a community that chooses to come together, leaving behind our titles and our silos to focus on the most important work, saving lives. Everybody deserves to live their full, natural life. In 2024, in Franklin County, my office investigated 113 homicides involving firearms. While that's still far too many, it's a downward trend over the last 5 years. And that means together, we're making progress. It means this coalition of dedicated people, this community is doing something right. We are doing something right, y'all. Things don't happen by coincidence. We are doing something right. We are seeing a downtrend of these numbers. We are doing something right. Now, you might not think that the coroner's office has much of a part of this effort to prevent violence, but under my leadership, we've made that a priority. I've participated in the Columbus Violence Reduction call-in sessions, sharing a simple message, powerful message with young men. Stay safe, stay alive, and stay out of prison. Your life matters. Your life matters. Their lives matter. Your life matters. At our Forensic Science Center on Frank Road, we've welcomed groups like My Brother's Keeper, students who come to learn about the real human cost of gun violence. We hope that what they see and hear might change their perspective and maybe even change their path. Tonight, if you drive by our building on Frank Road, you'll see it's lit up in orange, a symbol of our partnership with you all and our commitment to ending gun violence. We're proud to stand with the under triple digits movement with Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children, because we're working to keep the focus on gun-related homicides, because every life lost is a tragedy that ripples through families and neighborhoods. As Attorney Klein mentioned, when we talk about gun violence, we must talk about this other kind of gun-related death, suicides. In 2024, my office handled 104 firearm-related suicides, mostly men, with black men disproportionately affected. And that's heartbreaking, y'all. It's heartbreaking to see these folks come into my office. It's a reminder that we need to help break the stigma around mental health. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to call 988. Counseling helps. Talking to your doctor helps. Talking with your family helps. I'll never forget someone who told me, there was a dad who was talking to us at a conference, and he said, when I go and talk to my daughter, I don't just text her, how you doing, baby? I need to hear your voice when I ask, how are you doing, baby? To understand those nonverbals, to understand how you're doing. Talking to your family helps. I was just at a conference, Lori, we were just at a conference with a lady who just had a magnificent story, and her metaphor with boxing was, hey, with boxers, they have a trainer, they have a sparring partner, right? They have managers, they have promoters, they have the cornermen. That's what everybody needs those folks to help protect us through our life, to make sure our mental health stays at the highest peak we can. And so to this, I just want to say my office is willing to help. The most important piece of all this is that hurting yourself is never the answer, folks, right? My office is ready to help anyone, any group, any organization to spread this message that we want people to live, to grow old, to fill their lives with memories and happiness. To all the community members and leaders here tonight, thank you so much. Thank you for the work that you do every day. I'm here for you, and my office is here for you. Let's keep working together to build a safer, healthier Franklin County. Thank you so much.
Can everybody join me in giving all of our wonderful speakers a round of applause? You know, I think it's always a special opportunity when we get to bring so many wonderful justice leaders in our community together in one forum. And that's honestly an honor of the work that we get to do in the Office of Violence Prevention, is to bring so many amazing people to the table that are doing incredible work. And so we all know we can't do this together. So to our speakers, thank you. To your offices, thank you, because we can't do this work alone. You can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. You can't do it alone, but together we can do it. And I think it's, the numbers, like you said, it's showing we're doing it. And it's the collective passion that all of us bring. I mean, listening to all of you, and my staff is going to laugh because it's very infrequent that I cry, but it almost brings me to tears because the passion that I hear from every single person up here that leads organizations that are doing the work to affect change in our communities is just something so special. And so to you all, I want to say thank you. It's a privilege to work alongside of you every day. But I also want to recognize the point of tonight. The point of tonight is to uplift community. We're here to recognize the pain that our community members feel when they lose a loved one. We're here to recognize the work that everybody here in the community does every day. You know, behind me, we have luminaries of those that have been lost to gun violence. We have photos that have been provided by moms of murdered Columbus children of their loved ones that have been lost to gun violence. And every picture, every name is a reminder that this work is important and we can't stop until this ends. The purpose of tonight is to share in our collective passion in this mission. And so to all of you, I want to give my heartfelt thank you, not just to the people who are leading the offices. We can't do it without you, but we also can't do it without community. And so for those of you who have shared your loved ones with us tonight, thank you. We honor you, we honor their memory, and we work every day to make sure that not another life is lost. So I just want to say that at OVP, we feel really blessed to have so many amazing people on staff. And I won't ask everybody to stand up because it's a lot of you, but I want you to know that we appreciate you and we thank you for the hard work that you guys do every day, whether it's working overnight to try to stop someone from going back to a life in a gang, from going to take someone to get a job application, to get a driver's license, to help get them their car fixed, to bringing community together, to advocate for policy change. All of those things are so important to the mission. And what warms my heart is that we are able in our office to have people on staff with lived experience who, like so many of you, are willing to put those experiences to the purpose of saving lives. And not only do they do that because they care, but they've made it their life's work. And so to everybody in the Office of Violence Prevention, thank you. Tonight, I am really honored to introduce two incredible voices from our community who we're able to uplift their stories tonight. One is an interventionist, Mr. Nello Jennings from CVR. He's one of our wonderful interventionists. The other community members that you'll be hearing from tonight are the ladies from the Bannister family, who will share with you their experiences with gun violence, how it's affected their family, and their journey to healing. And so at this time, I'd like you all to help me welcome Mr. Nello Jennings up to the podium.
So how y'all doing tonight? How y'all doing tonight? Okay, all right. So I definitely appreciate everyone for coming out, as well as I appreciate the Office of Violence Prevention and Columbus Violence Reduction for giving me this opportunity to speak about my experience with gun violence. So can I start by asking, is any of y'all sports fans in here? What about basketball fans? I see a LeBron jersey back here. Any basketball fans? So even though I'm way past my prime in action, I still enjoy, watching basketball for entertainment purposes. And then with the playoffs going on in the finals, I've been real glued into these basketball games. And one thing that I notice about the professional game now is that the analytics play a major role into how they play basketball. So what I also notice is a lot of times us as spectators or even sports bettors, we tend to forget that those numbers are actually people. And those players are actually human beings too. And just like gun violence, we often hear about data that helps capture the impact of these situations. And as helpful as these numbers are, they only capture only a glimpse of the true story. See, behind every number is a name, a face, a family, an unfulfilled legacy. And these stats are about lives. So if y'all don't mind, I'd like to share some of my personal stats with y'all. Gun violence shaped my life in ways that just the numbers could never. Since a child, I lost 2 best friends to gun violence, a stepbrother to gun violence. As an adult, 2 very close best friends to gun violence, as well as an uncle. That's a whole starting 5 and a 6-man gone, all due to gun violence. Lives taken suddenly, senselessly. I watched numerous of friends bury countless of loved ones. Shoot, I even watched a lot of my friends end up in prison because they was the ones behind the trigger for taking someone else's life. And as I sit back and I realize that gun violence isn't just a public crisis. It's a cultural infection that needs to be treated compassionately in our communities. Gun violence isn't just a number on a report, it's deeper than that. It's personal, it's cultural, it's generational. It doesn't just take lives, it leaves trauma in its place. Growing up, I used to look up to my uncle. He was like a superhero or even like a professional athlete to me. The way he dressed, the way he talked, his whole essence fascinated me. He possessed this kind of charisma and charm that was like contagious. But being involved in the streets, he also carried this underlying form of danger with him. I can still remember the first time he was shot. I was around 5 or 6 years old. Fortunately, it was just an arm graze. I can remember even the second time he shot, going to the hospital. I was about 8 years old. I remember the bullets got hit and lodged in his jaw and knocked out a row of his teeth, and his friends nicknamed him Superman, as if surviving that made him invincible. I still even, matter of fact, no. What actually tore me up the most, I could remember his friends, even in the hospital, asking him what type of caliber bullet they took out of him, as if it was like a stat on the trading card or something. And the final time when he was shot, I watched him come out of a coma, only to fall back in a coma because the wounds had an infection. And the end result, he wasn't invincible because he ain't make it. See, growing up, some of us is actually obsessed with our lifestyle, but completely unaware of the real life consequences. So let it be known, gun violence isn't a game. There's no MVPs in the streets. My stats didn't come with championship rings or highlight reels, and most of us only deal with faded memories, funeral expenses, follow-up surgeries, headstones, prison sentences, and the grief of loved ones trying to figure out how to hold it all together. If we want to make this change, we have to change the culture. We got young people walking around and imitating what they think is real. But all they really is doing is repeating the same pain, the same trauma, the same cycles. It's time to shift what we celebrate. We need to make being safe, alive, and out of prison a standard. Just like the late, great Kobe Bryant taught us how to emulate greatness through his competitive mentality, to the point where we all used to yell, Kobe, be shooting a paper ball in the trash. We need that same type of motivation for these kids. Because it's saddening, but it's almost the same thought process they have when they actually pick up that firearm. And speaking of culture and influence, let's talk about Allen Iverson. For me, AI changed the game of basketball. He was authentic, unapologetic. I know for some he was misunderstood, but for a lot of black males in America, he was an example of inspiration and hope. Someone who identified with our culture, doing positive things in an extraordinary way. Allen Iverson made me and my friends want tattoos and cornrows. My favorite Allen Iverson tattoo, he has this cross on his arm, and it says, "Only the strong survive." But thinking about that, I kind of had to beg to differ, because I done seen some of the strongest and brightest get gunned down in the streets. These bullets, they don't discriminate. And unfortunately, when you get shot, there's no fashionable Allen Iverson arm sleeve to cover up those wounds. For most people, it's more like skin grafts, bandages, wheelchairs, prosthetics, and physically and mentally, you're just not the same. It's like living with a new norm. Just think about that, a new norm. And while we're thinking about that, I kind of do want to go back to Kobe Bryant. Do any of y'all remember when Kobe tore his Achilles and sat there and still shot them free throws? See, for me, that moment was bigger than just basketball. It showed how impactful life could be. It showed us that just because you're in pain doesn't mean that you're counted out. Do y'all really, really understand what type of mentality that takes? That's not just basketball. Again, that's life. That's resilience. To refuse to quit, even when everything in your body tells you that you want to give up. He even flew overseas. He had some type of new state-of-the-art surgery, came back to the States, he rehabbed intensely, and then eventually he returned to the Lakers and even was able to be back at all-star caliber. But he had to evolve. He couldn't jump as high. He couldn't run as fast. He had to change up his game. He was never the same. And that's kind of the same thing with gun violence. Sometimes you don't go back to who you were, but you still could go forward. I still remember that morning, that tragic day that we lost Kobe, when he passed away in a helicopter crash alongside his daughter Gigi and the 7 other passengers. See, that pain, it didn't just hit his fans, it hit families, mothers, fathers, daughters, communities, because we all saw ourselves in them. And the most heartbreaking part is, life didn't stop. The pain for his family, his teammates, his true fans, it didn't stop. But neither did his purpose. After any tragedy, we're all left with the pieces to try to pick up. During those times, I watched the most faithful people break down. I've seen the tightest families tear apart, but I also see people rise up out of turmoil. I've seen people take their grief and use it to fuel change, to become mentors, healers, organizers, and advocates for change. And that starts with self. Even just recently, I came into work hurting, knowing that someone that I consider family was laid up in the hospital because they recently been shot. But I still showed up to do my job, because helping others heal is my own healing process. Because our stories do matter, our voices matter, our legacies matter. Chris Bosh, a former teammate of LeBron James, he once said, legends aren't measured by successes. They're defined by how they bounce back from their failures. Let's bounce back together. This ain't a solo mission. We are a team. In a real team sport, their team does not leave their teammates who's struggling the most behind. We train together. We build together. We endure defeat, but we also win together. We need more safe places, not just rec centers, not just programming, but people. People who are shoulders to lean on, people to be voices of reason, people to remind others that you do matter. You are important. People to hold us accountable for the changes that we do want to see in our community. Because no matter who's keeping score, there's no real winners in gun violence. It's time to change the culture for our families, our futures, and ourselves. This speech is dedicated to my friend Terrence Pearson. So to this day, he's still the biggest Kobe Bryant fan I know. Unfortunately, we lost his life November the 28th, 2018. May he rest in peace. Thank you.
Can I have one more round of applause for Mr. Jennings? It takes a lot to get up here and share, and so Nello, thank you. Your words were profound. Thank you. Now, if I can invite the ladies up from the Bannister family.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. First, I want to thank everyone for allowing us to be here, allowing me to share my son's story, my family's story. and most of all, for the truth. I'm not here tonight as a public speaker. I'm not here as a professional. I'm here as a mother. A mother who lost her son to gun violence. My son's name was Devin Bannister. He was just 15 years old when his life was taken on July 18, 2022. And every day since that moment, I've had to live in a world where his voice is silent, where I will never again hear him call out, "Mom," where his room is still, but my heart is not. Nothing prepares you for the kind of pain. There's no handbook for what you do when the hospital staff look you in your eye. They just look at you. When the people around you know something you don't want to believe. When you fall to the floor because the word is he's gone, hit harder than a bullet could ever. I remember thinking, this can't be real. Not Devin, not my baby. He was funny, sweet, protective of his siblings. He was one of 4, but he was my only boy. He loved playing his games, staying up all night, talking trash like all teenage boys do. He had his flaws, like we all do. But he had a heart. He had a future. He had plans, and he had people who loved him deeply. And now he's gone. That night will forever be burned into my memory. From the knock at the door, from the rush to the hospital, the silence in the waiting room, holding on to hope like it was oxygen, begging God to spare my child, praying for the miracle, but a miracle never came. Since that day, I have to live 2 lives. One where I go to work, I take care of my kids, I wake up every morning, but a piece of my soul is still missing. You know, people say time heals all wounds, but that's not really true. Time just teaches you how to carry the pain differently. Some days I carry it with tears, sometimes I carry it with anger, and on rare days like this, I carry it with purpose. Because I didn't come here tonight just to grieve. I didn't come here to speak for my son. I came here to speak for every child that lost their life to a crisis, to remind the community that these aren't just tragedies, they are preventable losses. They are stolen futures. Gun violence didn't just take my son. It shattered our entire family. It changed the way we celebrate birthdays, the way we cook dinner, the way we smile. His siblings carry it too, each in their own way. My daughter, she carries the guilt of wondering if she could have stopped it. And as a mother, it breaks me again and again because it was never her fault. It was never any of our faults. The truth is, we live in a world where there are too many guns in the hands of people who don't value life, where kids aren't the same and they don't feel safe walking down the street. And the way we have to stop pretending that this is normal. It's not normal to bury your child before you. It is not normal to memorize the sound of a gunshot more than the laughter. Yes, I'm angry, and yes, I'm heartbroken, but I am also determined. I will not let my son's name fade into another statistic. I will speak for him when he cannot speak. I will enter rooms where he cannot enter. I will honor him with my voice, with my tears, and with every ounce of strength that I have left. And this pain doesn't just stop with me. My mother lost her son only 1.5 years before I lost my child. And he was my only brother, and he was 25. He was murdered in front of her home. All she heard was gunshots. She came to find her son in the car. So two beautiful lives of my family were taken. 2 families were forever changed. The cycle of loss runs deep, and it has to stop. And the families that are out here tonight, if you have lost someone, I see you. I know what that means to sit in the hospital waiting room. I know what it feels like to plan a funeral instead of a graduation. And I want you to know that you are not alone. We are all connected by this pain, but we can also be connected by purpose, by action, by love, and by a promise to our children, all of them, that they deserve better than this. So tonight I ask you to remember my son, Devin Bannister, not just how he died, but how he lived. I ask you to remember every life stolen to us that was stolen too soon. And I ask you to join us in speaking out and showing up. and demanding change. Because if my son's voice was taken, then I'm here to use mine for both of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having the courage to share. At this time, we would like to invite up OVP team member and Apostle Nikki Hampton to lead us in a prayer for Devin, for all the lives that are on the bags behind me and the luminaries, for everyone that's in the photos, and for everyone whose life has been lost to senseless gun violence, for everyone who's been affected, who's grieving. Apostle Hampton, will you please come up?
Good evening. Would you please bow your heads with me? Dear God, tonight we make our prayer beginning with gratitude. Gratitude for our mayor, our city government officials, police, firefighters, first responders, community leaders, and most of all for those of us who have endured and are enduring the grief, the loss of gun violence. We hold dearly tonight the memory of those whom we have lost to gun violence, the lives affected by gun violence, and the loved ones that live, that continue to live to love them. As we hold this vigil tonight, we hold space for peace. Peace that does not separate us, but a peace that brings us all together. Jeremiah 29:7 encourages us to pray for the peace and the prosperity of the city. So tonight we pray for peace and for the peace of Columbus to prosper. Prosper in love, prosper in acceptance, prosper in inclusion and not division, with God's DEI as our guide, divinely empowered and inspired. We make our prayer in peace, love, and power, that it might be a warm covering by night and a cool covering by day. We make this prayer tonight, that you would divinely empower and inspire us to not give up, that the fight is worth fighting for, that the lives even lost are still worth living for. And so we thank you tonight that you are the one that can give us the strength to endure through the rough night season. You are the one that can give us the power and the inspiration when we feel like the devastation is going to take us out. But we thank you tonight. And we pray for continued peace over the mothers, the fathers, the children, sisters and brothers, our community. That, Father, we will not lose sight on the one who is holding us by the hand. We thank you tonight. We thank you tonight that the peace of the city is taking place right now, that Columbus will prosper. Columbus will be at peace. Columbus will see numbers continue to go down until they are at a place, oh God, that we will be satisfied and say, yeah, enough was not enough, but we have seen you work. So we thank you tonight. Thank you for the blanket that's covering our city, the peace that passes all of our understanding, guarding our hearts and our minds through the only name worth mentioning tonight in heaven, the name of Jesus. Amen. Please join us in observing a moment of silence, please. Amen.
Thank you, Apostle Hampton. Okay, and now to close out our program tonight, we would love to invite up singer-songwriter Quan Howell for a little song performance to help us close out the evening.
Good evening to everyone. It's such a privilege and an honor as a servant of music to come and render the gift that God gave me to lift every heart and encourage every soul. If you don't know, my name is Quan Howell, the former lead singer of the Grammy Award-winning group Sounds of Blackness. I'm your hometown boy. But I'm going to sing the song for you, and I pray it blesses you. 'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take Him at His word, just to rest upon His promises, just to know thus saith the Lord. Jesus, my Jesus, how I trust Him, how I prove Him more and more. When you get tired, just say, Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus. Oh, for grace to trust Him, I need Thee. Oh, I need Thee every hour. Sometimes it gets like that. I need Thee. Oh, bless me now as I take my seat, my Savior. I come. I don't care what goes on in your life. Yes. I come to Thee.
One more round of applause, please, for Mr. Howell. There's nothing I can say that's going to top that. So at this point, we'll conclude our program. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for sharing in this space. We're here for you. We're here to share in this work with you. Anything that we can do to support any of you, please let us know. And there is a walk tomorrow with Moms Demand Action and Everytown Survivor Network. It's tomorrow at Livingston Park at 10 a.m. I know that myself and a lot of our team will be there. So continue in the Wear Orange festivities and join us tomorrow. And I know that Moms Demand has a list of other events that are happening across the city and across the nation to take part in. So again, thank you. Well, as you exit, we wanted to save everybody from the rain and the heat, but as you exit, City Hall will be lit up in orange to commemorate this weekend, and this day is National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Thank you all.